Hey, thanks for joining us. I'm Sim, and this is Tom. We're going to talk about the prophecies about the crucifixion of Jesus.
Evidence of the resurrection!
Well, one of the awesome things for a believer is when you can read something that was written several hundred years before the crucifixion and the resurrection and identify it as being a prophecy that came fulfilled through Jesus Christ, the crucifixion and the resurrection. Real interesting, I seen a guy interviewed on a YouTube channel actually one time, and a person went up to him and he began to read a passage to him and asked the person who was a skeptic, "Who am I talking about?" And the person said, "Well, you're talking about Jesus." You know, he knew just from the information that he gave him that he was talking about Jesus. The only thing was he was reading from the Old Testament, a prophecy. But even the skeptical person knew enough to say, well, that sounds like Jesus. So I want to read to you guys real quickly here two of the strongest passages probably that have to do with the crucifixion of Jesus. One is found in Isaiah 53, and I'm just going to read it off the laptop here. Starting in verse 2, He grew up before him like a tender shoot, like a root out of dry ground. He had no beauty or majesty to attract us to him, nothing in his appearance that we should desire him. He was despised and rejected by mankind, a man of suffering and familiar with pain. Like one from whom people hide their faces, he was despised, and we held him in low esteem. Surely he took up our pain and bore our suffering, yet we considered him punished by God, stricken by him and afflicted. But he was pierced for our transgressions, he was crushed for our iniquities. The punishment that brought us peace was on him, and by his wounds we are healed. We all, like sheep, have gone astray. Each of us has turned to our own way, and the Lord has laid on him the iniquity of us all. He was oppressed and afflicted, yet he did not open his mouth. He was led like a lamb to the slaughter, and as a sheep before its shearers is silent, so he did not open his mouth. One of the things that may not jump out at you, but if you really understand when it says that he was pierced for our transgressions, we know from history that Jesus was crucified, obviously pierced through his wrist and through his feet. But the truth is that when Isaiah wrote this, there wasn't crucifixions going on. He hadn't been witness to a crucifixion, so even writing this, that's pretty amazing.
It is amazing.
And we're going to see the same thing in the scripture that you're going to bring us.
Right. In Psalms 22, 15 through 18, my strength is dried up like a potsherd, and my tongue clings to my jaws. You have brought me to the dust of death, for dogs have surrounded me, which is that's talking about the Pharisees and the Roman soldiers, The congregation of the wicked has enclosed me. They pierced my hands and my feet. This is quite a few years even before Isaiah that the writer of Psalms is talking about the crucifixion of Jesus. I count all my bones. They look and stare at me, and they divide my garments among them, and for my clothing they cast lots. So that's even talking about the Roman soldiers that did that. They casted lots for the garments. So that's pretty amazing stuff. So many years, hundreds to even possibly 1,500 years before the crucifixion of Jesus. Don't quote me on it, but it's quite a few years. In Psalms 22, it talks about that. And then years later, Isaiah talks about it, hundreds of years before. That's an incredible prediction. And then the Gospels talk about it.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Prophecy is probably one of the most powerful proofs that people want proof.
Right.
For the Bible being true.
Right. And so, like Tom was talking about earlier, and probably I think our first segment this week on Monday, is that check out Gary Habermas. Check out Lee Strobel. A guy that's new around the scene is Jim Warner Wallace. He describes himself as an angry atheist. He was a homicide detective. He has a book out called Cold Case for Christianity and God's Crime Scene. So check these guys out on YouTube. These guys, like Tom has talked about, as these guys have put literally hundreds of hours into research. And Gary Hammond's
Way more
probably
than
put Gary Hammond's probably thousands.
Yeah.
So don't take our word for it. Check out these guys and look at their research with an open heart. And Tom and I's we ask you to do it with an open heart. God says in Jeremiah 29:13, if you seek me with all your heart, then you will find me.
Explosion of the early church!
You will find Jesus because he will reveal himself to you. Thanks for joining us this week. Check us out next week.
The just shall live by faith!
If you would like to have future updates on videos and events, like us on the Facebook page, and also we'd appreciate it if you subscribed to our YouTube channel. You have a great day.